Hello everyone, welcome to the Tim Booker channel. Wishing you an enjoyable listening experience. Today, we're delving into True Believer with the subtitle, The Rise and Fall of Stan Lee. For many enthusiasts of superhero comics or movies, the name Stan Lee should ring a bell. He was once the president of Marvel Comics, single-handedly crafting the vast Marvel universe, where iconic superheroes like Spider-Man, Iron Man, the Hulk, Captain America, Doctor Strange, the Fantastic Four, and many others dwell, the most renowned superheroes of our time. Stan Lee's position in the comic book realm is comparable to Rockefeller in the oil industry, Buffett in investment, or Jobs in the realm of smartphones. In recent years, numerous biographies about Stan Lee have surfaced. However, most were published with his perusal and consent, presenting the facets of Stan Lee that he wished to share with the public. But the book we're discussing today, True Believer, commenced its writing only after Stan Lee's passing in 2018. Its standout feature lies in revealing the controversial side of Stan Lee that other biographies omitted, a territory encompassing disputes over superhero creative rights, entanglements in late-life commercial disputes, family scandals, and more. The author of this book is Abraham Reisman, an American journalist working for publications like the New York Magazine, with his works frequently appearing in media outlets such as the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. Throughout the writing process, Reisman didn't just compile almost all of Stan Lee's public statements but also conducted extensive investigations through private detective channels, scrutinizing thousands of pages of archival documents. He interviewed over 150 individuals who had close encounters with Stan Lee, unearthing many previously undisclosed details. This book stands as a rather comprehensive and objective biography. Its tone maintains seriousness and realism, sometimes even being rather unforgiving. If your perception of Stan Lee is primarily the father of superheroes, driven by passion and talent, created the Marvel Universe, this book might shatter that perception. It reveals a different facet, portraying a person filled with contradictions, a more authentic portrayal. Today's exploration is divided into three parts. Firstly, let's delve into how Stan Lee became the president of Marvel Comics and fashioned the Marvel Universe. Secondly, we'll uncover the lesser-known struggles and controversies in Stan Lee's journey. Lastly, we'll discuss how Stan Lee crafted his personal brand in the latter stages of his life, shining brightly in this age of pervasive media. Alright, let's dive into the first part and explore the upbringing of the man often hailed as the father of Marvel. Stan Lee's original name was Stanley Martin Lieber. On December 28, 1922, exactly 100 years ago, he was born in a small apartment in New York. Both of his parents were Jewish immigrants from Romania. In Lee's recollections, his parents were frequently engaged in arguments, usually revolving around money or the lack thereof. Despite his father being honest and loving, striving to provide the best for the family, the era was harsh on him. The 1930s marked the Great Depression in the United States, making finding employment a daunting task. Unemployment took a toll on his father's spirit, leaving him feeling unneeded and destructive. These experiences significantly influenced Stan Lee's beliefs. He aspired to become wealthier and more essential. For him, the most crucial aspect for an individual was to have work, to be busy, and to feel needed. Consequently, in his professional life, while he occasionally desired more free time, during his busiest moments, he felt valued, which made him content. Young Stan Lee had a profound love for reading. He mentioned that during meals, be it breakfast, lunch, or dinner, he would read books or magazines while eating. His mother's first gift to him was a small stand that could be placed on the dinner table, allowing him to stand up books while eating. His reading list was diverse, encompassing works by authors like Conan Doyle, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, Dickens, Shakespeare, and more. This reading experience laid a solid foundation for his future creations. During high school, Stan Lee took up various odd jobs, such as selling newspapers, writing obituaries, and crafting promotional pieces for hospitals. In 1939, after graduating, he began the quest for a long-term job. In 1940, an entity called Timely Comics extended an olive branch to him. This company later gained fame as Marvel Comics, though it didn't bear that name at the time. As a newcomer to the company, Stan Lee did everything, from sweeping floors, buying coffee and lunch, to helping erase pencil marks on newly colored works. He even did proofreading. However, amid these tasks, he kept his mind active, observing keenly. For instance, while proofreading, he didn't merely spot text errors but also suggested improvements, communicating them to the creators. Soon enough, Stan Lee received an opportunity for creative work, not in comics but a pure text story of 2 pages titled, Captain America Foils the Traitor's Revenge. At the byline of this story, he didn't use his original name, Stanley Martin Lieber, but instead penned the pseudonym Stan Lee. This was the first appearance of this name in a published piece. In 1941, just a year after joining, the 19-year-old Stan Lee unexpectedly witnessed a career elevation. During that year, Timely Comics started shifting focus, transitioning from primarily producing comic magazines to systematic comic books, significantly increasing workload. With the workforce already scarce, everyone was plunged into a frenzy of work. This unbearable situation led to the departure of the company's 2 chief illustrators after a heated argument with the company's founder, Martin Goodman. Surprisingly, Goodman appointed Stan Lee, a teenager with only a year's experience, as the company's editor-in-chief. As the editor-in-chief, he primarily focused on crafting stories. The subsequent step of turning these stories into comics was outsourced to freelance artists. A company illustrator commented that despite Stan Lee being a child at the time, he was remarkably talented, finding writing as easy as speaking. He also described Lee's work style. Lee would call freelance artists after completing each page, narrating the content until the entire comic was finished. Additionally, Lee always worked on multiple stories concurrently, displaying high efficiency. In 1961, Timely Comics rebranded itself as Marvel Comics, later changed to Marvel Comics Group in 1963, the predecessor of the present-day Marvel Studios. In that year, Stan Lee underwent another career leap. Collaborating with artist Jack Kirby, they created a sensation with The Fantastic Four. The debut issue of The Fantastic Four, Fantastic Four #1, was published in November 1961. The story, familiar to many, revolves around 4 scientists who, after exposure to cosmic rays, acquire 4 distinct superpowers: invisibility, flame projection, super strength, and elasticity. They form a team, combating crime and embarking on scientific adventures, resolving various peculiar issues. Initially resembling a typical superhero comic with just more characters, what made it rapidly popular was its departure from the traditional image of superheroes as always morally upright. Instead, they were more relatable, portraying ordinary people with flaws. For instance, in traditional superhero tales, once they gained superpowers, they usually accept it readily and embark on a journey to seek justice. However, in The Fantastic Four, these 4 individuals had superpowers unexpectedly imposed upon them, and the process was excruciating. Upon receiving these abilities, their initial response was aversion and rejection. After a period of cooling off, they decided to use their powers for constructive purposes. Moreover, traditional superheroes often prioritize fighting evil and saving the world as their primary life goal. Yet, for The Fantastic Four, being true to themselves ranked above being heroes. Among them were scientists, adventurers, each with their own lives and hobbies. Hence, their adventures weren't solely about saving the world but could involve testing a new invention or scientific exploration. Additionally, although The Fantastic Four is a sci-fi story, it resonates strongly with reality. Each of the 4 characters possesses flaws in their personalities, such as arrogance, fickleness, and a penchant for pranks, among others. They reside in Manhattan, New York, not some fictional city. In their lives, they encounter real-world difficulties, like neighbors complaining about noise or the mayor threatening to evict them from their residence. Simultaneously, the characters evolve. 2 main characters not only get married but also have children. This kind of realism made The Fantastic Four appear more adorable and authentic compared to traditional superheroes, a significant reason for their rapid popularity. The author believes this comic marked a turning point in global popular culture, creating a new, more realistic approach to hero portrayal, referred to in the book as humanistic superhero comics. Since the success of The Fantastic Four in 1961, over the following decade, Stan Lee collaborated with artists like Jack Kirby to introduce more humanistic superheroes, including the Hulk, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Thor, Black Panther, and even hero collectives like the Avengers. These characters included black individuals, insecure youngsters, and mutants ostracized by mainstream society, each with their own flaws or viewed as outcasts by others. Despite being marginalized by mainstream society, they bravely took up the mantle of saving the world. Each work captured the genuine aspects of human nature, affirming positive traits. This largely explains why these characters remain active on screens of all sizes even today. In 1972, Martin Goodman, the founder of Marvel Comics, decided to retire, and Stan Lee succeeded him, becoming Marvel's president for over 20 years until he departed in 1998 to establish his own company. From the 1960s to 1998, Stan Lee spent nearly 30 years crafting the vast Marvel Universe. The concept of the Marvel Universe encompasses all superheroes created by Marvel, existing in the same universe and timeline. In this space, heroes meet, stories intertwine, and events affecting one hero can impact others. This cohesive storytelling was unmatched by other comic companies of the time. It was not just a narrative technique but also a savvy marketing strategy. Stan Lee took immense pride in the creative concept of the Marvel Universe, maintaining this approach across all superhero comics. The renowned film critic Roger Ebert often said that movies were like a machine aimed at creating resonance. In the author's perspective, Stan Lee's comic series acted as a machine but aimed at creating addiction, and indeed, it succeeded. Entering the 21st century, Hollywood also embraced this approach, bringing various universes, including the Marvel Universe, to the big screen, resulting in immense profits and controversies. However, that's a tale for another time. Part 2. Alright, here we've covered the story of Stan Lee creating the Marvel Universe. Listening to this, you might get a sense, it's an incredibly inspiring, American dream, style of struggle, a poor lad immersing himself in his passion, persisting for decades, ultimately achieving success through talent and hard work, gaining fame and fortune. However, the author doesn't entirely agree with this depiction. Based on substantial information collected from both public and private sources, there's another side to this story that many are unfamiliar with. Firstly, this isn't entirely a story driven by passion. When Stan Lee initially joined Timely Comics, it was merely because it was a job that paid and was within his capabilities, not because he had an intense love for comics. In the 1940s and 1950s, the early stages of Stan Lee's career, he actively sought other employment avenues to break free from the comic book industry but failed for various reasons. Consequently, he remained at Timely Comics. It wasn't until The Fantastic Four exploded in 1961 that he decided to focus on writing stories for comics. He referred to much of his previous work before The Fantastic Four as garbage, even saying, "In fact, I might be the purest, most thoroughgoing hack. I don't really love writing. I write because I can, it's easy for me, and I can make a living out of it." Stan Lee wasn't even a comic book enthusiast, stating, "I just wrote them, I didn't read them." If this isn't a story fueled by passion, is it a tale of triumph through talent? On this matter, the author also doesn't entirely agree. Why? First, we need to understand the production model of Marvel Comics, known as the Marvel Method, which is quite different from traditional comic book creation. You see, the primary roles in creating a comic book are the writer and the artist. In the traditional method, the writer creates the comic script, outlining each page and panel's imagery and text, which the artist then translates into visuals according to the script. However, Marvel utilized a different production method. They started with discussions between the writer and the artist on what kind of story to create. Note that these discussions focused on ideas and concepts rather than a full script. In comparison to the specific script writing, the conceptual design of the story is where the originality of a story truly lies. After discussing ideas, the artist would draw some visual scenes that basically covered the main plot. Then, the writer would take these visual scenes and add specific dialogue and captions. Stan Lee primarily held the role of the writer. From the narrative earlier, we can discern that during the actual creation of the comic, the artist shouldered both creative and artistic responsibilities while the writer mainly edited and polished the content already created by the artist. So, can we say that the creators of Marvel superheroes like the Fantastic Four, Hulk, Iron Man, etc., were not Stan Lee but the artists he collaborated with? To answer this question, the key lies in who came up with the story's concept before the actual comic creation began. If the ideas and concepts were primarily from the writer, naturally, the writer is the creator of the comic. The trouble lies in the fact that no one knows how these comics, created using the Marvel method, originated during the initial discussion phase. Those discussions were not recorded, and there were no meeting notes. After Marvel's success, Stan Lee was often asked about the creative process in interviews. According to his descriptions, he independently came up with the story's outline, which he and the artist then refined together. He emphasized that the core idea came from him alone. However, some artists who worked with Stan Lee provide a different version of the story. For instance, Jack Kirby, the artist behind many Marvel classic characters like Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, and the Fantastic Four, maintained until his death that he would provide Stan with the basic plot and Stan was responsible only for editing the work. So, which side's story is closer to the truth? This question has long been debated. Many creators who collaborated with Stan Lee have accused him of stealing their ideas. However, Stan Lee vehemently denied these claims. Both sides argued vehemently, yet a definitive conclusion remains elusive. The author leans toward believing that many Marvel heroes weren't entirely Stan Lee's original creations, at least not solely by him. Firstly, reviewing Stan Lee's past interviews reveals inconsistencies in his descriptions. For instance, many times, he would claim to have independently conceived the story's outline. However, in 1987, when discussing his collaboration with artists Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, he stated, "They were both great at storytelling. I might give a few key words, and they would take it from there. I just did a little polishing after they were done." Moreover, at least once, Stan admitted that Kirby often led the story. This could almost be seen as relatively solid evidence. Additionally, throughout, Stan Lee never provided substantial evidence that he was the creator of a specific comic character. For instance, in the case of his career springboard, the Fantastic Four, Stan Lee consistently emphasized that he conceived this story, yet he couldn't produce any evidence, no storyboards, no letter records, nor work logs. The closest thing to evidence was a dubious document outlining the Fantastic Four. However, this outline was most likely written after discussions between Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. In a 1974 article, Stan Lee admitted to this. However, in the late 1990s, he changed his story in private letters, stating he first created the outline and then showed it to Kirby. Kirby's response was, "I've never seen that thing." Many speculated that this outline emerged after the Fantastic Four's release. This is plausible as Stan Lee initially showed this outline to others years after the Fantastic Four's release. Overall, when it comes to the question of whether Stan Lee is indeed the creator of the Marvel gods, there's no existing authoritative material to provide a definitive answer. This is understandable since during the 1960s and 1970s, the comic book industry was still an unstable emerging field, focused on survival, and resources were concentrated on completing one work after another without bothering to leave behind any work records for future generations. As mentioned earlier, the author leans toward believing that many Marvel heroes weren't entirely Stan Lee's creations. However, this doesn't disregard Stan Lee's contribution to Marvel Comics. He emphasizes, "We must acknowledge that Stan Lee was an outstanding comic book editor. From the assessments of those around him, we see his proficiency in writing, in discovering and retaining talent, and his knack for matchmaking writers and artists. These were crucial for the birth of those classic comic book works." Furthermore, Stan Lee had strong marketing and promotional abilities. The Marvel Universe concept is a testament to this. He was also adept at fan engagement, continuously strengthening the bond between fans and Marvel Comics. For example, in each comic he published, he included letters pages, cheerfully responding to readers' letters in a conversational style, encouraging readers to address him directly by name without using "Dear Editor." Additionally, he seized every opportunity to add a sense of realism to the superheroes, making them more relatable and endearing. For instance, when a reader suggested Spider-Man should have his own headquarters, maybe even a spider plane with his logo, Stan replied, "We're all for it, but where can a poor superhero go to get his own spider plane?" Latest reports are he's trying to raise the down payment on a bicycle. Part 3. So far, we've covered Stan Lee's tenure at Marvel before 1998. We see his undeniable contribution to the birth of many iconic Marvel superheroes, the expansion of the Marvel Universe, and the promotion of Marvel Comics in the market. However, the controversy over whether Stan Lee is indeed the creator of the Marvel gods has persisted for a long time. Many creators who collaborated with Stan Lee accused him of stealing their ideas, vehemently denied by Lee. Both sides remained firm in their stances, never reaching a definitive conclusion. From 1972, when Stan Lee became Marvel's president, until his departure in 1998, due to copyright disputes, many of his closest artists, often termed his right-hand men, departed. Simultaneously, after assuming the presidency, Stan Lee gradually faded from specific editorial responsibilities. What became noticeable was the sharp decline in renowned IPs produced by Marvel after the 1980s. The most famous Marvel superheroes known and adapted to the big screen primarily originated from the 60s and 70s. However, in the 1980s, Stan Lee shifted his focus to a new venture, transforming Stan Lee himself into a super brand. Here, too, he achieved tremendous success. In our previous discussion, you can sense how Stan Lee bridged the gap between Marvel heroes and fans, simultaneously making the name Stan Lee a household one. In the letters section at the end of each comic, he warmly responded to fan mail, sharing superhero secrets, becoming a bridge between fans and the Marvel world. He frequently appeared as the company's spokesperson and creative engine on radio and national newspapers. Additionally, he enthusiastically participated in seminars, university lectures, and promotional events. Gradually, Stan Lee became the living emblem of Marvel. For many, Stan Lee embodied Marvel itself. In the 1980s, as Marvel ventured into the film and television industry with its superheroes, Stan Lee began appearing in related productions. His first film cameo was in 1989, briefly appearing as a juror in The Trial of the Incredible Hulk TV movie. In 1998, Stan Lee left Marvel and established Stan Lee Media, with hopes of creating various entertainment products, including games and online comics. However, due to poor management, the company went bankrupt in 2001. Later, he founded another entertainment company, but its film and comic output didn't make significant waves. Although Stan Lee's entrepreneurial journey after entering the 21st century faced challenges, his personal brand shone brightly. With numerous Marvel superhero stories adapted into films, Stan Lee began frequently appearing on screens, big and small. Despite his departure from Marvel, in the hearts of Marvel fans worldwide, he remained the father of Marvel. Production teams recognized this and eagerly invited Stan Lee to cameo in Marvel films. From 2000 to 2017, Stan Lee cameoed in over 40 films and TV productions based on Marvel Comics, portraying various characters, barbers, gamblers, passengers, drivers, security guards, veterans, and sometimes just a passing pedestrian. Finding Stan Lee in a Marvel movie became a joy for fans. When they spotted him in theaters, they excitedly pointed at the screen, quietly explaining to their uninformed friends who he was. Stan Lee thoroughly enjoyed these cameo opportunities. Though brief, he was fully committed and often designed interesting details, ensuring each appearance brought surprises. Moreover, he hardly missed the red carpet premieres of these films, posing for photos with the stars and being the originator of these film stories and the creator of the Marvel world, accepting interviews. His continuous appearances in film and promotional activities made Stan Lee shine in the age of multimedia. As Marvel superheroes gained worldwide fame, Stan Lee became a focal point, an idol for countless people. While his later years were accompanied by fame and glory, they also saw commercial disputes, family scandals, and a mix of true and false negative reports. Undeniably, as a brand and commercial figure, Stan Lee magnified his value to the utmost. On November 12, 2018, Stan Lee passed away at a Hollywood medical center due to cardiac arrest, respiratory failure, and congestive heart failure, at the age of 95. In the 2019 release of Avengers: Endgame, people witnessed Stan Lee's final cameo appearance. This time, as the Avengers traveled back to 1970, Stan Lee was digitally de-aged. They used special effects to make him appear younger. People saw a hippie driving a convertible, shouting at the screen, "Make love, not war." A very timely slogan, reflecting the heightened anti-war sentiment in the United States at that time. The 1970s were a golden period in Stan Lee's life. In this film, he re-entered that era, merging with the characters he had created, delivering a poignant conclusion to a remarkable life. Alright, let's conclude the journey of Stan Lee, the Marvel Man, spanning nearly a century. Ultimately, his life can be divided into two significant phases. The turning point between these phases was in 1972 when he became the president of Marvel Comics Group. Before 1972, he deeply immersed himself in the creation of Marvel superheroes, constructing the vast Marvel universe. The author of this book believes that Stan Lee's greatest ability lay in editing, alongside a natural talent for marketing and promotion. However, Stan Lee never claimed to be the greatest comic editor, or placed his most indisputable achievements first. Instead, he referred to himself as the greatest creator, an assertion shrouded in controversy within Stan Lee's legendary life. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that for comic enthusiasts worldwide, Stan Lee brought the once lofty superhero characters to ordinary people. He made people feel that heroes are also ordinary people. As he once said in a speech, for creators, only when you start caring about the personal lives of superheroes does the story avoid shallowness. Superheroes also experience financial problems, family issues, unrequited love, just like us ordinary people, going through everything. The only difference is that they have a superpower. In the 30 years before 1972, Stan Lee brought superheroes down from their pedestals while elevating Marvel to greatness. However, in the decades after 1972, what he raised to greatness was the personal brand, Stan Lee. He no longer created those characters that made him famous but instead, through lectures, interviews, film cameos, and promotional activities, continuously sculpted and reinforced the image of himself as the creator of Marvel. Although the real-world Stan Lee faced entrepreneurial failures, business disputes, and scandals in his later years, as Mr. Marvel, he will forever remain one of the most legendary commercial figures in popular culture. As stated in the book, when a legend falls into reality, reality will also forge a legend. Stan Lee's first half of life brought legendary heroes into reality, while the latter half forged himself into a legend in reality. The author believes that Stan Lee's story is a typical American dream, an individual achieving success through hard work, optimism, and perseverance. However, just like those Marvel superheroes, Stan Lee himself was not flawless. After the screen dims and people leave the theater, walking away from the legendary heroes to see the real world, they encounter darkness, rough paths, and imperfections. But that's reality. Today's interpretation focuses on the major achievements and controversies in Stan Lee's life. If you're interested in more details, consider checking out the original book. Congratulations, you've finished listening to another book. Thank you for your support and attention. Subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom with practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future. Thank you all, goodbye.